Hello, world! Well, I ran out of video recording space, so that can only mean one thing. It's time for an update video. As you know from some of the previous videos, I've been welding the track joints together using a cheap welder I bought from Harbor Freight or somewhere like that. But recently it's been so blisteringly hot outside when not raining, and raining all the other times, that the most I've been able to use my welder for is a small track cart. My plan for this small track cart is to make it easier for me to weld the joints together. I started by just buying some normal old welding stock you can find at your local Harbor Freight, or you could go to Tractor Supply, or you could go to Menards. Pretty much any hardware store carries welding safe, just welding stock. And I avoided welding on those wheel housing things for the beam crane because I figured those might be galvanized, and I wasn't really enthusiastic about the idea of dying. I didn't measure these connections very well, and my welds are pretty sloppy, but you know what? This is a solid built little cart that'll serve me well within its lifespan. And its lifespan is probably going to be within a few years, so it's perfectly fine as is. Now, some of you watching this are going to say to yourself, huh, his camera angle makes it look like his measurements are off. No, my measurements are off. I'm not very good at welding yet, and that means that no matter how many times I measure the steel when I weld it together, things are going to be a little bit off for a while, but that's okay. This cart does not need to be perfect. It's just a flatbed wagon that's going to roll along the rails and carry my welder while I weld the rail joints together. It'll also carry rails and some other supplies I need. I'm sorry I don't have a whole lot of footage of me building this little cart, but that's because outside it was so ridiculously hot that my phone, which I use as a camera on a tripod, was having a lot of issues recording it. Anytime the direct sun would hit my phone, it would immediately start throwing up all kinds of "I'm too hot" warning signs and stuff, and I'd have to shut the recording down and I'd just have to continue on without recording. Especially if I wanted to actually get it done within a reasonable amount of time, so there was really nothing I could do to change that. This is one of the few clips that still exist because my phone was deciding to work rather than just shut itself off immediately. I'm drilling the holes for the axles to go. They're going to be held by very cheap, simple little C brackets that are held by 2 bolts. And that's all I really need them to do. They'll hold the axle in place so that it doesn't go wiggling around, and it'll sit comfortably between 2 pieces of angle iron. After that, it should just sit right there and not move. The wheels themselves from the beam cranes have bearings inside of them, so each one of them can spin freely. That's different than how most actual rolling stock works, but for this particular piece of rolling stock, it's perfectly fine. After I get it welded up completely, I go ahead and test it to make sure it's within gauge. Yes, I popped on a bump cap. At my age, a fall could probably knock my head in, and I have no reason to want that before work in the morning. So, of course, I went ahead and protected myself. I don't care if I look cool or not. I don't want to knock on the head. The bar steel I'm using for my axle is just a tiny bit too small for the insides of the bearings. I must have measured wrong when I bought them. But that's what I get for not going out and buying some calipers. And that means that the bar steel allows the bearings to wobble just a tiny bit, enough to reduce the efficiency of the wheels and produce a rattling noise that I don't much care for. So, I'm going to have to find a way to fix that. You can actually see me staring at the wobble to see how bad it is as I slowly force myself back and try to diagnose what exactly the problem is. I only figured it out later that the bar steel was way too small. I thought I had actually blown out those bearings. After figuring out the bearing issue and welding on hooks on each side so that I could attach a chain as a couple, I went ahead and started buffing down all the rust and getting ready to paint the entire thing. I don't really mind if this cart gets rusty. It's a durable little railway wagon. And I'm not building a model railway, I'm building a toy railway. There's a little bit of a difference. After I sand off anything that is actively rusting or is too loose and going to flake off, then it's just a thick coat of paint. This paint will protect the metal against future rust, wear and tear, and stuff like that. And if I have to apply more coats of paint in the future, I don't mind. In fact, this is probably going to end up a very multicolored cart by the time it's fully time to take it out of service or rebuild it. I guess one benefit to having a narrow gauge railway is I can just go ahead and hang up my rolling stock to dry when I need to. That's kind of nice. Now then, for attaching the wooden decking, I'm using the exact same method I used to attach the rails down to the sleepers. I'm just lipping over a small piece of the metal and sandwiching them between two screws, and that is all that is needed for attaching these boards. After all, it's a flatbed, and most of the force is going to be downward, holding it to the pieces of metal. I know that these wooden boards are untreated and going to rot, but I'm also okay with that. This wooden decking is probably going to end up being a big sheet of laminate board in the end anyway. The heat dome was still over us when the project was finally finished, and I figured the only way I would be adequately able to record it is if I waited for sundown. So the sun was down when I recorded this, and it got dark. As you can see, the flatbed is done. I can roll it around, ride on it, put anything I want on it, and it's a fully versatile little piece of rolling stock. My buffers are just little pieces of scrap wood that I'm okay with sacrificing, the same as the decking, and really the same thing as the entire car, but it works splendidly. As long as I sit my butt between the wheels, it works to keep me balanced enough to where I don't have any trouble. The vibrations from the camera are actually from me rolling along the rails. It's shaking the rails that much to just have me on them. Isn't that weird? And just like that, this part of the project is over. I now have a little helper wagon to help carry my stuff when I'm welding the joint connections together. It is a flatbed car, but it's also a suitable hopper car slate wagon fusion. It works, that's the point. And I hope you think about commenting, and subscribing, sharing this video with other people that love the idea of building their own railway. And I hope you enjoyed this very short trip down my line. And with that, I'm going to have to say, bye-bye!